Very pleased to welcome you today to another edition of Homo Politicals on Enterprise TV. How you doing? Welcome again to the broadcast. Let's get talking about something very vital. And this is about millions and the pockets of millions of Nigerians. Well, in a move that will impact millions of bank customers across the country, the Central Bank of Nigeria has officially ended the policy allowing 3 free monthly automated teller machines withdrawals for customers using other banks' ATMs. This means that customers will now incur charges from the very first withdrawal at another bank's ATM. The decision comes as part of a broader regulatory changes seeking to strengthen the financial sector. At least that's what the central bank says. But this raises concerns across or about increased transaction costs for everyday banking. So what does this mean for you Nigerians? What does this mean for millions of bank customers in the country? Will this push more Nigerians, more people towards digital banking alternatives, or simply increase the financial burden on customers? Let's get talking about this with a chartered accountant and political commentator, Lester Wilcox. Many thanks for joining me. He joins me virtually today, by the way. Many thanks again for being on the program.
Yeah, thank you for having me. It's my pleasure. I'm delighted to be here with you. Thank you.
Thanks. Appreciate that. Let's get down to the conversation. So the Central Bank of Nigeria has scrapped free withdrawals for automated teller machine transactions effective the first day of March 2025. So bank users now have to pay 100 naira per 20,000 naira at on-site automated teller machines, plus an additional surcharge of not more than 500 naira per 20,000 naira for transactions when you use ATMs at public places. Say, for example, your favorite shopping malls, your favorite restaurants. If you find a machine there, you use that, then you'll be parting with a surcharge of 500, not more than 500 naira, could be less, not more than 500 naira. That is plus your 100 naira, especially if you're not using the same bank. Well, Lester, what does this mean for bank customers? How did you receive this news?
Well, it shows how deep our capitalistic structure is getting deeper by the day. And sincerely, I am appalled because I was of opinion that we have a progressive government that welfareism should be part of their governance structure and components, and as such should have a more credentialed look at things that will not seriously impact on people as much as it has already impacted. It seems that we are in the era of increases in cost of services. NCC just gave the telecoms a 50% call it a 50% increase in their tariff. I mean, I've never seen how generous a regulator can be to a service provider by just in one fell sweep said you can increase your rate by 50%, when even our national inflation rate is still hovering around 30, 31%, 32%, and we are praying it comes down, and then regulators are giving such a humongous increases in their in services. And then when you come to the banks now, it looks like the cartel has finally taken over the Nigerian financial system, and they can go to and they can just do whatever they like, because nobody can understand rationale the reason why such a humongous increase. For instance, it used to be 3 free withdrawals and then 35 naira on any subsequent withdrawal.
Yeah.
Now, you're not even just increasing 35 naira, you are increasing from that, you even remove the 3 free withdrawals. And then the 35 naira, you're not making it, that is 200 and about 240% increment. About 240% increment on the charge. After you have removed the free transfer.
Withdrawals, yes.
So one begin to wonder what goes on in the minds of the so-called regulators when some of these policies are being made. I mean, is it because they felt the Nigerian, and this is the economy that we are all crying and waiting that things should be done to bring down inflation, bring down costs incurred by people so that Nigerians can have a fresh, some breathing space, and you are now compounding it. And by the time you compound one aspect of the economy, what do you think happens to the other aspects? Inflation will keep will keep running out of the roof. So when do you want to take me down? You know, so you are now empowered. For all intents and purposes, before the advent of Emefiele, Governor Sanusi was very, very strict with the banks. And it was even Governor Sanusi that made the banks to be charging 4 naira as SMS charge. Formerly, they were charging 10, 15 naira. It was Sanusi that made them to be charging 4 naira. Sanusi was about to abolish COT, that's Commission on Turnover. I mean, there was a 3-year moratorium to abolish it. It used to be 5 naira per meal. He had a 3-year program that would crash it to one. The year of it was 1 naira was when he left, and then when the Emefiele came, they still stick to that 1 naira. And today the banks are making millions, if not billions, and smiling among themselves. And they are not investing in their ATMs. What is the practice worldwide? Some of us have traveled out of this country, and we've used teller machines in other countries. We don't get this kind of charges. So what is informing it?
Yes,
you are robbing it on Nigerians.
Let's start talking about what informed this decision. The central bank did talk about that in that circular that was released by John Onoja, acting director of financial policy and regulation department at the central bank. He did say that in that particular circular that the move would address a rising operational cost and enhanced efficiency in the banking sector. Is that justifiable from your point of view? Or is that justified?
Grammar is cheap. Talk is cheap in Nigeria. Talk is very, very cheap. You are trying to address rising according to you, rising operational costs.
Yes.
So by the time you are now increasing the operational cost of others, what will happen to your own operational cost? It's a circle. And I mean, I've just told you, you are now giving a 240% increase to a rate, 240% increase, when even the inflationary rate is about 30-something percent. And we are crying that government should do things to drive down inflation. And you are giving a rate, you are giving an increase of rate far above the national inflationary rate. So what are you doing? How does that address the so-called operational gaps? Now, these banks already have their ATMs.
Yes.
Most of them have ATM galleries.
Yes.
So it's already in existence. So acquisition of hardware is limited. We are talking about maintenance or replacement. So you're not replacing every ATM. And these ATMs is a source of revenue, is a big revenue line of banks. That is why some banks can open ATM galleries. Some banks do off-site ATMs. You go to shopping mall, you find ATMs. You go to churches, you go to clubhouses, you find ATM. Why are they doing that? If it is not profitable. So this is a clear case. I see it as a clear case of insensitivity on the part of the so-called regulator. This is a clear case of robbing blue mother on the consuming public, because there's nowhere to go. You can't go to Consumer Protection Council. I mean, when the DSTV was arbitrarily increasing rate, people went to Consumer Protection Council. What happened? They were shocked back. So this one, nobody, you can't, so who do you complain to? You can't go to, there's nowhere to complain. So they just force it down on the throat of Nigerians. And Nigerians know who we are, docile, we just grumble, and we just conduct business as usual. and somebody's meant to the bank.
Well, do you consider
the banks are expanding their, because okay, who will monitor the efficiency? Who's going to monitor it?
Well, let's start. Just last December, just last December, there were talks about the scarcity of cash, at various automated teller machines across the country. There were talks about that. A lot of Nigerians complaining of the fact that they couldn't withdraw cash and they resorted to a point of sale agent at some point, and they had to pay so much, to get cash. Some have said that this might be a good move to checkmate that, oh well, if banks know that they would be getting some incentive, from the use of their machines, they probably won't be going the way some have alleged that they've gone in recent times, providing cash for these POS guys and not providing cash at their machines. Do you think this is some positive?
You don't cut your nose to, if you're having malaria, right, or headache, you not cut off your head or your nose or your ear to cure malaria, right? Is that a smart move? You see, the problem is we have a capitalist class that do not care about the general well-being of the country, and that's what we are seeing. And unfortunately, it's reflecting in government circle right now, because we thought it's only the private sector that will have such a capitalist cabal or capitalist class that do not care how the entire society lives. But unfortunately, it is now manifesting in the government circle. I cannot for sure say the direction, the policy direction, the purpose direction of the administration, if this is part of their policy direction, to just like Trump is doing in the US, to enrich the rich more. I mean, the rich to get richer at the expense of the poor. What happened in December? It didn't start from December. It has been on. It's just that it became pronounced to the extent that even the bank started complaining, or maybe elements within the bank whose jobs we are threatening. Because if you go to, that period, if you go to banks, bulk teller rooms, they are empty, no cash to count. So I'm sure some people within that knows that their job is at stake start to make some surreptitious move to redress some of them, and as to why the CBN came up with all that. I don't know that when banks were licensing POS operators, when bank workers, even up to CBN workers, we are all owning POS to use them to make money. We don't know where. Is it a you see, sometimes in this country, we pretend a lot that we don't know the problem, so that we create a problem for us to milk the system and make more money. That's what's happening in this country. So it is the right of a customer to walk into a bank that it has more and get this money. To cash. So this issue of scarcity of cash started, was pronounced in Nigeria when during the currency exchange, which is understandable. That era has long passed. Now POS is now the order of the day, and the banks are the one responsible. And they want the public to not pay for the inefficiency or to not compensate them. They will not want to reap from the problem they created in the name of operational efficiency. For me, that's an unjust society. That is an evil society. I don't know how we get to this level.
There's a warning from the central bank to commercial banks, financial organizations in the country. They've warned that that's the central bank now warning that they will sanction banks that force customers to withdraw less than 20,000 naira per transaction from the automated teller machines, despite having sufficient funds and requesting a higher amount. So that's, from their point of view, we're checking what might look like extortion. The central bank emphasized that ATM charges for withdrawals made from other banks, both on-site and off-site, are based on the, expectation that customers can withdraw as much as 20,000 naira per transactions. and that was during a question and answer session when that warning was given. What do you say?
Well, it is the same mess that they've all created. CBN was sleeping when, you see, one of the most regulated or supervised institutions in Nigeria is the banks. That is one of the most regulated. Let me give it to CBN, or let me give it to the authorities. One of the most regulated entities in the country today is the banks. After what we had, all the bank collapse, CBN has auditors that visit these banks. In fact, at some point, I guess, I don't know if it's still a practice, they have resident auditors in all the banks. So the CBN knew from day one what the banks are doing. So if it is a failure of regulation that the banks were now outsourcing their cash, I mean, what is the main function of the bank? Is it not cash intermediation, keep and give? So if the CBN was watching, or was docile, or was recalcitrant, and the banks were heading south with respect to their core mandate, and the CBN were the ones supervising them, and then you now suddenly wake up from sleep and know that the banks were limiting cash. I mean, no bank can limit how much I can collect, because there's no law that prohibits how much I can collect. No bank can limit me to how much I can collect. If I have money in my account and I go across the counter and write my check, you are duty bound to pay me. And it has always happened. I have always insisted, I can't come to your bank where I have money and you are telling me I cannot collect more than this. Which law? Under which law? And it's because Nigerians are docile. You see, because Nigerians are docile, Nigerians are fearful, Nigerians are just accept anything. That's why you walk into a bank and they tell you we are paying 5,000, and you grumbly collect the 5,000 and then blame President Bola Ahmed Tinubu for what somebody that is in one remote place is doing. If you have money in the bank, the bank is who you do to give your money. Now, if you choose to use an ATM, well, I agree that there is cost. That I'm not of the belief that everything must be free. I agree that there is cost, because I mean, since the banks are interconnected, there is there is charges for the interconnectivity. There are charges that some other agencies that are involved in the connectivity will take. All those charges are inbuilt. So I'm not oblivious to the fact that the bank does incur costs while have ready such service that you can walk into anywhere to collect your money from anywhere. But I think that cost must be reasonable.
All right.
I mean, we are all dealing with 30,000. We are all dealing with 35,000 naira after every three transactions. And then, because again, why do people have to do those kind of transactions? The bank limits how much you can take at a time.
Yeah. Sometimes
they put it as low as 5,000. So if you are looking for 3,000 naira, you must be forced to do more than 3. And then each subsequent one is 35. Each subsequent is 35 naira. So if you are not increasing that, if you are not removing that free one, you are now increasing the 35 naira to 100 naira, which is a 240% increment.
Let's start.
You are not able to enough mechanism to check how much. I mean, to what extent the banks will still find loopholes, so still make the already traumatized public. I think we're not helping this country.
You mentioned in the course of this 20 minutes or so conversation, the fact that Nigerians just sort of docile and accept whatever policy, even when those policies are financially burdensome, that they definitely accept that and move on. What then can Nigerians do to reject this policy? We've seen, something the Nigerian Labour Congress, for example, and there are some Nigerians are doing with the telecom tariff. What can Nigerians do, in this regard?
Unfortunately, our so-called, individually, you can do little or nothing, except trying to navigate within your financial structure, try to navigate how you limit, that is, within your own financial space, navigate how you limit your exposure to consuming those services. How do I mean? You ensure that at every point in time, you have a sustainable cash level in your hand. I'm talking about this issue now. Is a reasonable cash level that you know can carry you. You make use of POS and ATMs. I mean, you patronize where you can easily use their own POS to make payments, and then you also limit your exposure to collecting money from other ATMs. Maybe you insist on collecting from your own ATM. I mean, I can tell you for free, I have hardly collected money from another ATM. I can't remember the last time that happened. I've collected money from another ATM. I don't think I've done it. I can't remember if I've done it. So I make sure that, that's for me, I make sure that I go to, if I need ATM services, I make sure that I take the extra pay to go to a bank where I have an account. Probably, of course, I have an account in more than one or two banks. Now, as a people, it has to be by a class action. You cannot walk up to CBN, they won't even allow you in. You cannot protest to the bank will tell they are regulated by CBN. By class action, so most times our so-called human rights activists or our so-called bloggers, they don't blog the right thing. Rather, they create content and fund that to just sell themselves to people. The law courts are there. I mean, I don't trust the commission. I don't trust the Consumer Protection Council with the way they botched what happened with DSTV. I mean, nobody knows the head and the tail of that action. People went to the Consumer Protection Council, and then they tried to call a multi-choice to order. And what happened? I don't know, nobody knew how the case ended. So I don't trust them. The labor union that is supposed to champion the cause of the people, I don't trust them. Like last time I was telling you, and I was saying something to you some time ago. These are men and women that are also seeking for their own personal aggrandizement and interests. And I'm saying this on national TV. Because they have not been able to carry out any formidable class action, because that is the only body that has the clout. It's either the NBA, it's either the human rights organization, social organizations like social and professionals like NBA.
Yes.
That can go to court. I'm not saying go to the street. That can become an action in court. Either to restrain the CBN, to restrain the banks. You know, people can do things that will have a lasting impact. But individually, we can't.
Yeah. Lester, I'm sorry, we've got to go. Well, we'd like to thank you so much for being a part of the conversation today. We've got to go now, so sorry. Lester Wilcox is a chartered accountant and public or political commentator. He has joined me today virtually as we discussed this recent policy, which takes effect the first day of March 2025. It means if you use the automated teller machine of another bank, say you bank with a green bank and you decide to use the ATM of a blue bank, you're going to be parting with 100 naira, right? If you withdraw 20,000 naira. So per 20,000 naira that you withdraw, you would part with 100 naira. So if someone, for example, sends you 20,000 naira, and that person wants you to, get something, purchase something, you need to tell the person to include 100 naira charges, right? And by the way, if you go to your favorite shopping mall, restaurant, or some other locations that is not the bank premises, and you find an ATM, if you're using that machine, you would need to pay charges not lower than 500 or not more than 500 naira. Yes, that's besides the 100 naira if you're using the machine of another bank that you're not banking with. Okay, all that's clear, and you prepare for that March 1. Except, as Lester mentioned, we're ready for a class action. All right, that's the conversation today. Many thanks for being a part of Homo Politicus. Kingsley Bass is my name. I'll be reading in the comment section what you make of this new policy by the Central Bank of Nigeria. Thank you so much, and bye for now.
Enterprise TV, a tradition of truth.